Hello, this is Anthony Vita with the Vital Blend, taking you beyond the headlines at a story that came out recently on Natural News about a couple who lost a combined total of 280 pounds by switching over to a vegan lifestyle. Now, this means that they went from eating a traditional Western diet of mainly animal-based products to one that includes mostly plant-based whole foods. Now, the husband was 327 pounds. His name was Robert. And Jessica, his wife, was 287 pounds. Now let's take a look at them, shall we? Now, this is not them, by the way. I had to do a little digging. This is Robert and Jessica a few years ago, and this is them now. Wow, big, big difference, as the couple are now around 167 pounds each. Now, this couple right here was not only a lot heavier, but at a greater risk of developing heart disease, namely heart attacks and strokes due to the amount of cholesterol and saturated fat that was in their diet on a regular basis. They've also done a great service for their children, who are not only going to grow up with healthier parents, but they're going to understand what it's like to eat and be healthy, so that when they get older and have family of their own, they can keep their tradition going. So great job, Robert and Jessica, who have not only saved their own lives, but potentially the lives of their own children as well. Now, going back to the original article, going beyond the headlines into what people are talking about in the comments, one person asking, well, what about the vegetarians that are overweight? You know, what are they doing wrong or overindulging in? This is a great question, because often vegans and vegetarians are touted as being the healthiest in the entire planet. So what could they possibly be eating that's not good for them? I want to take you to an article that was written by Dr. John McDougall called The Fat Vegan. Now, John McDougall is a medical doctor. He's been one for the past 40 plus years, but unlike other doctors, he puts your diet ahead of any kind of drugs that would ever be given to you. And he does a great breakdown on, let's say you go from having a regular hamburger to a soy burger, or a switch from real cheese to soy cheese. Not a whole lot of difference in terms of the amount of fat. Certainly if you're going from lard to olive oil, or going with Earth Balance, you're still dealing with something that's 100% fat. It's these soy-based so-called fake foods that have the potential to have just as much fat as your regular food, animal-based food, that are getting the vegans and vegetarians into so much trouble. So if you want to read more about that, great article. Back to the original story now. Somebody's saying that they read an article recently about if you're trying to lose weight, you should actually increase your meat consumption, because your body uses more energy and calories to digest it. And now it's actually true that your body burns more calories when it has to break down solid foods, but you don't really have to go out of your way to eat food that's got a lot of fat just to burn more calories. You could do that by getting some exercise, going for a walk, let's say, instead of eating food that has a lot of fat in it. The American Heart Association breaks it down. The foods that have the most saturated fat naturally is going to be your beef, lamb, pork, poultry, lard, butter, cheese, even milk. And I would throw in there vegetable oil, like olive oil. It's 100% fat. And so it's these foods right here that most Americans center their entire meals around. This is what's getting most people in trouble when it comes to struggling with their weight, struggling with diseases. And this is the reason why, according to the CDC, cardiovascular disease, which includes heart disease, stroke, and high blood pressure, is the #1 killer of women and men in the United States. Now, there's some people who don't agree with this necessarily, and they call it bad science. And they say that there's no link between heart disease and saturated fat or even cholesterol. They say that there is Oxford meta-analysis on saturated fat, and that we should look up the data. It's fact. So I did. I took a little Google search, went to see some studies that didn't see any link between saturated fat and heart disease. Found this one, 72 studies. The results came in earlier this year that found no link between saturated fat and heart disease. It was conducted in part by the University of Oxford and also funded by the British Heart Foundation. Now, it's very interesting to note who's putting the money down for these particular studies, because certainly no one's going to invest money in a study that's going to come back with results that's going to go against what they're all about. So let's see what the British Heart Foundation is all about. Going to their website and checking out the heart health section and into treatments to see how they deal with heart disease. They deal with very effective treatments, improving the quality of their patients' lives. They develop new treatments by scientists basically looking for clot-busting drugs and state-of-the-art statins. So this tells me that this is an organization that deals with pharmaceuticals, dealing with a drug solution for heart disease. And as we can see, drugs have had no impact on heart disease. Heart disease, the #1 killer among women and men. It's been like this for decades. And that's because pharmaceuticals is a business. There's no money in finding a cure. There's a lot of money in filling a prescription and finding a brand new pill, but there is no money in doing what Robert and Jessica have done, which is basically changing what they eat, moving away from the heavily saturated fatty foods and moving to a plant-based whole food diet. I encourage you to look at these people as an inspiration to change your diet if you're struggling with your health. And all the articles that I mentioned are in the description below. And I encourage your comments and your questions. Thanks for coming along as we went beyond the headlines once again. I'm Anthony Vita for The Vital Blend.